Hey, what's up, guys? We're back. We're going to get into a minor league minute, and we've got a great interview coming up for you in the second half. Stick around.
You are listening to KC Sports Network, the #1 podcast network for today's Kansas City sports fans. With former players from your favorite teams, informed perspectives, and former insiders, this is the place for you. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts or on our YouTube channel, all over social media, or our morning newsletter, KCSN Daily, dedicated to your Kansas City Chiefs. KC Sports Network is proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
Welcome in to another episode of the Royals Farm Report podcast. My name is Alex Duvall. I am joined tonight by my co-hosts Joel Penfield and Josh Keiser. Really quick, we'll introduce them in a second. We're going to hear a word from our sponsor, Kansas City Strength and Conditioning.
From the beginning, we knew right away that we wanted to do strength conditioning and a throwing program for the baseball and softball community. It wasn't something we were trying to back into or all of a sudden learn. We knew we were really good at coaching these skills from the get-go, and the fact that we're in the same business and the employees are all on the same page, we can write a program based off of what a kid needs, not just getting him stronger or faster from a general sense. It's what does this kid need? On the pitching end, we can say, hey, this kid needs such and such. He needs to do this or that better. A lot of times it turns out it's not something that needs to be fixed in the baseball cage or on the throwing mound. It actually needs to be fixed in the weight room.
All right, big thanks to Kansas City Strength and Conditioning out in at home field in Olathe for sponsoring the show this year. Joel, how we doing tonight, man?
Oh, we're hanging in there. Hey, the baby Royals are making the last 2 months of the season pretty damn fun. I don't know if it'll lead to maybe the wins that we all want, but they're at least an interesting product for the first time all season. So that makes the big league show that I do a lot more fun. But this show even more fun because it's guys we've been talking about for years, and now they're producing in the big leagues. That's it's pretty cool for all of us.
Crossover between Farm Report and One Royal Way right now. It's outstanding content.
Oh yeah,
Josh, did you watch the game today?
I did. I watched the majority of it. I did step away in the late innings, and apparently I didn't miss much, but more offense. So I'm very much into what I missed, even so I missed it.
I mean, hey, when you got the opportunity to beat up on last place teams, you got to do it.
This is totally out of context. Last place team, the Boston Red Sox are still pretty damn good.
Last place teams are last place teams, man. Got to take advantage where you can.
They are not all made the same, Joel. Damn it.
The Tigers and the Red Sox, very different last place teams.
Hey, man, I'm just going to keep riding it because it just any chance I get to needle Red Sox fans, I'm going to do it. So I don't care how tongue-in-cheek it is. I'm going to do it.
If you were an AL East team, how pissed off are you that you aren't in the AL Central this year? Because the fourth place team is it the Rays?
It's the Orioles, and they're 2 games out.
I don't know. I think during the Royals game, I thought they were in fourth. Regardless, they're still have a better record than the AL Central leading Twins. So
let me have my fun and keep calling the Red Sox a last place team. Let me have my fun.
That little banter has lost my train of thought. I have no idea what I was going to say, but now I'm just invested in
super flustered.
The Red Sox being right around 500 and being in last place instead of in the middle of the playoff for the division. Really quick, I just want to point out, I think Josh got his on. Shout out Charlie Hustle for the swag, for the gear, making sure we look good for our podcast for the rest of the year. So charliehustle.com, Charlie Hustle down in Kansas City, some of the best Kansas City specific, only in Kansas City, by the way, because if you had a Charlie Hustle in New York, the only thing they would sell is the I Heart NY shirts, and that'd be it. And maybe a Yankees hat, but to have a store in town that's just promoting Kansas City specific things is outstanding. They have a Joe's Barbecue shirt that is awesome. Monarchs gear, Royals, the current. I mean, every team is represented. It's pretty cool.
Be sure to check out the
wrapped in hugs.
Yeah, and be sure to check out the new Bit of Everything show that Charlie Hustle is sponsoring at KCSN with Michaela Bennett, and she'll be joining me later this week on One Royal Way to talk about the week for the Royals. So get the chance to get to know her a little bit as she's going to do a lot of stuff for us KCSN.
That's awesome. We're going to get into a minor league minute. We haven't done a true minor league minute in a long time where we break down the teams, talk about who's playing well, who's not playing well. How did the team do this week? We have not done this in a long time. So in case you forgot, or in case you're new to the podcast, the Minor League Minute is brought to you by Drum Farm. Drum Farm is a foster care facility out in Lee's Summit, Missouri, on Lee's Summit Road. They do great work, hosting foster families on their campuses to live in community with one another. But they also have a Compass program that is for kids who have aged out of the foster care system who now need help. I don't know what you guys know about the foster care system. Starting at 18, they throw kids out on their own. They're like, hey, good luck to you. So Drum Farm is a very cool opportunity for kids that were in the foster care system to come back and get help after they've graduated high school. So the Minor League Minute brought to us by Drum Farm this year. Down in Columbia, the low A Columbia Fireflies, the pitching staff is starting to become more and more intriguing. And I find myself every night, the way I watch minor league baseball generally is, what pitching matchup am I most interested in? Is there a starter I'd really like to see? Is there a starter on the other team I'd like to see our hitting prospects go against? And every single night, I find myself wanting to tune in to watch Columbia. They're struggling. The offense is still a lot of really young guys who aren't coming around. But the pitching staff has been outstanding. Shane Panzini this week made 2 starts. In those 2 starts, he made a combined 8 innings with 10 hits, 6 walks, 7 strikeouts, and 5 earned runs. Not great, not terrible either. The second outing, much more promising than the first. In the first outing, 1 strikeout, 3 walks. It looks to me like Panzini and Caderna both are trying to pitch more to contact than they are learn to strike guys out and learning to be power pitchers. Not a fan. I would much rather see Panzini and Caderna both go after guys and try to strike them out and try to be dominant, try to be powerful. But that may not be the intention. Like, just because it's our perceived intention, the hardest part about minor league baseball is we don't get a press conference with the coach and the pitching coach and the pitchers after every single start. So Ben Caderna, who I was just referencing, his start this week, 5 1/3 innings. He only allowed 3 runs, but he got 1 strikeout to 4 walks. Frank Mazzucato walked 3 in 5 innings of work. Ben Hernandez walked a couple in 4 innings, although Ben Hernandez also had 7 strikeouts.
Yeah.
It just seems like control is continually being an issue that we talk about with pitchers at every level. Although the stuff at low A is outstanding. Luinder Avila had a decent start, struck out 6 in 4 innings. I do want to talk about Jonathan. I don't know if it's Jonathan or if there's a different way you pronounce it. I need to figure that out. Jonathan Bernal, he was signed by Toronto out of Mexico at the age of 17. He is now 20 years old. He was the return in the Foster Griffin trade. He relieved Frank Mazzucato the other night. 4 innings of scoreless ball, 1 walk, 7 Ks. The pitching staff down there has been phenomenal in terms of who we want to watch, the stuff that's coming out of their hands. The big question mark left is, what are they working on developing with these guys? Is it being more efficient, trying to induce weak contact, or is it learning to miss bats, which they're going to need to do at the more advanced levels? Because we don't know that, it's hard to judge too harshly what's going on. I do think it's interesting that the walks have started to surface and started to become a little bit of a problem. But the pitching staff as a whole is super intriguing. There's a lot of guys who are a lot of fun to watch, and they have really dynamic stuff. It's just a matter of pairing it correctly, sequencing it, tunneling it, commanding it. And so that is the beauty of low A baseball is the pitching staffs down there are you generally have one of 2 things. Number one, it is younger kids with dynamic stuff and they don't know how to control it. Or it's a college kid with stuff and they're polished. They can command it. They sequence their pitches. And at times, both of them can cruise and both of them can get lit up. So Noah Cameron cruised himself right onto high A. He's currently rehabbing, should be back in another week or so. But you get guys like that. And then you get guys like Frank Mazzucato who have great stuff and are learning to use it. So as a pitching coach myself, I love watching low A just for the pitchers sometimes and their journeys, their growth through minor league baseball can be a lot of fun to watch. Ben Hernandez has been a little back and forth. Like I said, 7 strikeouts in 4 innings of 1-run ball. He looked really good this week. So next week, I'll fully expect him to go 2 1/3, give up 5 runs, and only strike out a couple. So we'll see how it goes. Been a little bit of that kind of season for him. On the offensive side of the ball, Carter Jensen continues to be one of the more fascinating offensive prospects I've seen this year at any level. The batting average on balls in play is insanely low. You're talking about a big left-handed 18-year-old who gets shifted and pitched differently, and it's like watching a big league staff throw to David Ortiz. Like, they're terrified of what Carter Jensen might do to them. He's still walking a ton. The strikeouts are under control. He's hitting for power, but the average isn't coming around. And I think a lot of times we say, oh, don't worry about the average. And I'm here to tell you, don't worry about the average. But something it is indicative of is not having an opposite field approach, looking to just find your way on base at the plate, and maybe trying to do damage too often, which can be equally as negative as Darryl Collins, where we're up there slapping the ball around, walking a ton, and hitting for almost literally no power. Darryl Collins did return to the Columbia lineup this week, had an OPS of 1,000, was on base at a 500 clip, so he had a 500 slugging as well. I don't know what to make of Darryl Collins. I was driving the Darryl Collins train preseason. I really thought he could be a guy that made borderline top 100 prospect. And we know the raw power is there. Hit a ball 117 miles an hour last year as a 19-year-old. It is absurd. Maybe it was 113 miles an hour. Still, that is absurd. It is absurd to be able to hit a baseball that hard, but it's the frequency now that he's not hitting it for. And it makes you wonder. It's like the bat to ball skills are fantastic. His approach is fantastic. His discipline at the plate is fantastic. How do we get him to hit the ball for more power more frequently? I can imagine later this offseason, we will have Drew Saylor on again at some point, come on and hopefully talk about, guys like that it's like they're doing so many good things, but the overall results aren't showing because of one thing we're working on. And that's some of the beauty of that. But anyway, those are your Columbia Fireflies. They did only go 1-5 this week, so a little bit of a rough week overall. But if you pick through the box scores and you watch individuals, there's a lot to like about individuals on this team. It's just as a unit not being able to put it together. So we're going to jump to Josh. He's got our Quad Cities recap.
Yeah, speaking of rough week, Quad City River Bandits going 4-2 against the Wisconsin Timber Rattlers, moving on to 38-64 on the year. So a rough season altogether for the River Bandits. But as you kind of mentioned, there were some pitching highlights in the Quad Cities, starting off with Rylan Kaufman. Had a great start on Saturday with 5 innings pitched with no earned, 3 hits, 1 walk, and 8 strikeouts. I know that he's been on our radars for the last couple of years, so it's good to see him kind of he's had also a very rough year as well, so it's good to see him kind of get back on the horse and shove a little bit for at least a Saturday night. Speaking of shoving, Beck Way, the newly acquired pitcher from the Yankees in the Benintendi trade, had 2 starts this week, the first 2 starts for Quad Cities. On Tuesday, he went 4 2/3, gave up 5 earned, 5 hits, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts, cruised through the first 3 innings. He was no problem. Slider looked awesome, just very sharp. Announcer was talking about how a lot of the league was never seen a slider that good. So that's very promising, and that kind of translated into his performance on Sunday. Went 6 innings pitched with 3 earned, 3 hits, 2 walks, and 7 strikeouts. Bookended on a first inning, a rough first and the rough 6th inning where he got into some trouble, but the 2nd through the 5th were pretty solid for him. So Beck Way, good to see him kind of striking dudes out, kind of the opposite of what we kind of been talking about with Kudrna and Panzini, not kind of having trouble striking dudes out, but still kind of generating in an efficient way, potentially some-wise. And then kind of a name that we've not really touched on, but it came up around this time last year was Casey Kalich. Came over in the Jorge Soler trade, 24 years old, down in the Quad Cities. He had 2 saves and 2 opportunities this year, no hits, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. He has given up 3 3 earned runs since June 1st. He's just absolutely slamming doors down there for the River Bandits. On the year, he's got a 2.83 ERA with a 1.29 whip. So we could definitely be seeing him in a potential call-up to add to that, Northwest Arkansas bullpen by the end of the year. We'll see how that all turns out. Offensively, we've kind of been talking about Luca Tresh all year, having a pretty solid last 2 or 3 months, a rough start for him, but he went 5-17 for 2 home runs, 5 ribs, 2 stolen bases. He's got 3 on the year. He had 2 this week. He's got wheels all of a sudden, carrying 1102 OPS. He's had a 1,006 OPS for the last 30 days, so he's really come on hot, 6 home runs. Also 14 walks, 17 strikeouts in the last 30 days. So that's also a very good approach to see. 22 years old, 17th round pick. I kind of want to see what they do with him. It doesn't really seem, they got Logan Porter there in AA, so we'll see what happens with him. And then AAA, they got Fermin. They also have, who's the other one I was –
Jose Briseño, but
that's the other name that's always behind the plate. He's either first base. But yeah, those are the 2. I'm kind of curious to see kind of how that logjam kind of clears up in front of Tresh, but I could totally see him getting a shot. And then lastly, Peyton Wilson, just an okay week with 777 OPS, 1 extra base hit, and two stolen bases. So kind of a guy we always kind of spotlight and keep an eye on, especially because we're kind of expecting big things from him, but just an okay week this week.
Hey, a 777 is just an okay OPS. That'd be a great day at the casino.
Right.
Joel,
it's all relativity here.
Before we get to quads or for Northwest Arkansas, y'all can, if you have MLB Network on your cable package streaming service, you can watch the Quad Cities Cedar Rapids Field of Dreams game on MLB Network. I believe it's a 7:00 game Central Time. So if you want to watch these guys, you have a great opportunity to, and you don't have to pay for MLB TV or watch a game from behind home plate if you're watching the Quad Cities home game. So
when is that?
What's the date?
It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday.
Nice.
Tuesday. So yeah, you get to watch these guys play at the Field of Dreams. So that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, that's rad.
So headed to Northwest Arkansas, they played the Tulsa Drillers and split their series there. Although one of those losses was 23-7, which I think might count for 2 losses. I don't know if they threw a position player. It didn't look like it in the box score, but that's just a big old yikes. I don't care if they still won 3 games there. TJ Sikma made his organizational debut in Northwest Arkansas, 4 1/3, 2 runs, 3 hits, 4 strikeouts, 1 walk. He's always going to have great pitchability, but not throwing with a ton of velocity. There's always some variety there, but good to see he made a good start there. And then Andrew Hoffman, the guy they got in the trade for pick 35 along with Drew Waters, goes in there 6 runs today, or 6 innings today, only give up 1 run, 6 strikeouts, 3 walks. So that's one of his better starts we've seen since he's gotten to Kansas City. ERA was over 5 there for a little while after a couple of starts. So good, encouraging stuff there. I don't have StatCast on it, but Sully hit a ball to Mars. I believe it was in that Wednesday game. That's just how we measure Sully Matias home runs. Like nothing is less than about 430.
What planet did it live on? Did it land
exactly. Wherever he hit it, I've not seen many balls get up there. So that's something. Tucker Bradley just keeps hitting guys. He's still hitting 312 and 851 OPS. Just absolutely mashes right-handed pitching. And when you're hit like that, and there's no elite carrying tool, but Alex and I were talking about it before we recorded, like the elite carrying tool is the ability to mash right-handed pitching. This is maybe a bad comp, but just Nate Eaton his way to the big leagues, where he just keeps hitting and forces the hand of the organization to just give him an opportunity. I don't know if that's next year, but I certainly by 2024, Tucker Bradley's going to have his opportunity in the big leagues, playing in a platoon situation. At least, because that's a great role for him there. And Josh's guy, Tyler Gentry, still hitting 318, 148 weighted runs created plus. That's just in AA. And he's doubled his home run output from what he had in high. He's got 10 home runs. Had a 1 OPS in the middle of the week, is only down to 988 now. So Tyler Gentry, he's slumping a little bit down. He's crushing the ball. Yeah. I'm curious where he ends up in the aggregate of our top 50, but easily a top 10 prospect in this organization now. Thank you, Drew Saylor. We appreciate and love you on this podcast. And then final note here, Nate Webb pitched a scoreless 7th inning today. Still, working back from injury, but that was a very encouraging sign. The ERA was around 9 or something like that, and after his first couple outings, but really encouraging to see him strike out the side there for the AA squad.
When we get to the end of the season, we'll have Jake Eisenberg, Nicholas Batters, Kyle Kercheval, and John Coxis on to talk about each level. The broadcasters for minor league baseball TV on the podcast. We'll have a show where all we do is interview these guys and get their thoughts on the season. I cannot wait to talk to Nicholas Batters about the pitchers at AA this year, because it seems like we talk all the time about Alec Marsh, how he makes no sense. It makes no sense how you can strike out 120 batters, only walk like 30, and have an ERA north of 7.5 because you get BABIP to death.
Yeah, his opponent average is like 290 or something crazy.
He has like the 3rd highest BABIP in all of minor league baseball. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. I don't know if the balls are on fire down there. Are they playing with rubber bouncy balls? Are they testing a new ball down there? Because whatever it is, I don't like it. I mean, from an offensive standpoint, but the pitchers are having no success. And I need to look at the rest of the league. Is it just our guys? Is it just the Naturals? Or is it like everybody at AA? I'll probably have an article on that later on where I break down all of the pitchers in the Texas League and at AA this year, because it makes very little sense what's going on down there outside of Asa Lacy and his issues, which, again, another time, another podcast.
That's why I didn't bring it up.
Yeah.
So, and also just Nick Lofton is just a model of consistency.
Dude, he is so underrated. Why is nobody else talking about him? He's so good. He is so good. I mean, he's hitting 430-foot home runs. His strikeout to walk ratio is getting closer and closer to 1 every day. There is nothing he can't do. Like,
plays every outfield position, plays second base, plays short, and he plays them all well.
Yes, center field. He plays every important position on the field. Like, if you asked him to catch, could he? Maybe. But at this point, what are we not catching him for? Like, he does. Oh, he's so good. He is so underrated. It hurts. But man, oh man, is he good. Not a lot going on in Omaha. All the prospects got called up, and they didn't really backfill. Tyler Gentry's still at AA. Nick Lofton's still at AA. Tucker Bradley's still at AA. Logan Porter, all those guys are still down in Northwest Arkansas. Michael Garcia to get the bump. And I think it's interesting that they bumped Garcia to Omaha and left Nick Lofton at AA, because now Nick Lofton's playing more shortstop. It's like, ooh, were they trying to show off Michael Garcia for a potential trade this offseason? I don't know. We'll see. Not a lot going on in Omaha. Brewer Hicklin did continue to hit well. So, but that's it. That's your minor league minute for today. Brought to you by Drum Farm, the foster care center out in Lee Summit, Missouri. Go check out their farmers market on Saturday mornings. Closes at 9 or 10 a.m., I think. Wonderful opportunity. They got a petting zoo, fresh produce, grow your own plants. But really cool opportunity to go out there and support some awesome foster kids and their work there as their community. So, gentlemen, I appreciate you coming on for our minor league minute tonight. We've got an awesome interview headed your way. Joel, really quick, is going to read us our Tickets for Less.
If you're looking to take your crew out to the K this summer, be sure to check out our friends at Tickets for Less. Ticketsforless.com has the best selection of tickets for all your favorite sporting events, concerts, and shows, including the Royals. Tickets for Less never charges per ticket fee, saving you big time over the other sites out there. You can save even more when you use our exclusive partner code at checkout. Simply enter code KCSN22 when ordering your seats at ticketsforless.com. That code again is KCSN22.
Gentlemen, I appreciate you. We'll see you next week. All right, I am pumped for this next conversation. I am now joined by Royals prospect Brennon McNair down in Arizona. He's hanging out with us tonight, and also Pat Ellington Jr., who does some work for MLB.com, MLB Network, also for Baseball Prospectus. So, Pat, we'll start with you. Why don't you quickly introduce yourself to our listeners and our viewers and give them your background in baseball and how you got started writing for Baseball Prospectus?
Okay. First of all, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. Brennan, thanks for being here. Really flattered to get to converse with you and things like that about your experience as a baseball player and stuff. I really appreciate you being here, all things considered, for real. So I just want to get out the way. But I also want to thank everybody who's listening as well for being here and would like to welcome them. But just to start, I come from a baseball family. My great grandfather briefly played in Negro Leagues. And he raised my grandmother to love the game, and he raised my mother to love the game, and they passed that love of the game down to me, all of them. They were all in my life, my great grandfather included. He was in my life for a long time. And just a little tidbit, he was born the same year as Jackie Robinson and Larry Doby, and he passed away in 2015. So I had his perspective around, and it really radicalized me. Growing up, the sport of baseball was something that really helped me understand my place in America as a Black man. It really helped me dive into my history, looking at how much Martin Luther King liked the sport. You know, he did a column in one of the local Black Atlanta papers every year on the Braves, talking about the Braves when he was very visible. He talked about on record a lot how much he was inspired by Jackie Robinson, and he was actually best friends with Roberto Clemente. They were really close. Many people don't know that, and that's one thing that really shows who Roberto Clemente was as well, and Martin Luther King. He understood the intersection of sport, especially baseball, and how it could reverse de jure and de facto racism in the United States. So for me, growing up, the great grandson of somebody who was born the same year as Jackie Robinson, and saw him go through that, and my mom was raised by had her great grandparents in her life as well, who were born even earlier than that, and were actually the grandchildren of slaves. So, baseball for me is kind of almost sacred in a sense, just because of how much I was raised to understand how much he did for Black people historically, and how much we contributed to the sport, its culture, its history, and everything that explains why it's a pastime and why it's America's pastime. But it's also more than that, just for Black people, just based on what is done. The doors open for us, and not just baseball, but in other sports such as the NFL and NBA, which are at the peak of their powers right now. That wouldn't happen without baseball or boxing or track and field or things like that. So, yeah, and then for me, my mother was a college teacher. She ran 2 programs focused on enrolling Black students in higher education, one at Ohio State University and one at a local community college, Northeast Ohio. So growing up, I was around a lot of different Black people from all over the world. So that was a big inspiration for me, and how I see the game. And going to college, my freshman year at Morehouse was 2016. I'm from Northeast Ohio, specifically Youngstown and Cleveland. So my first time away from home was in Atlanta, watching the World Series, watching Cleveland go to the World Series that year, and doing so alongside a whole bunch of Black people from all over the world. I stayed in the Du Bois International House at Morehouse, which is I had a lot of 4 students in my dorm. It was people from 7 different countries on my floor alone, I think, just recalling off the top of my head. So being around Afro-Latinos, Afro-Caribbeans, Africans who liked the game of baseball and understood what it was and things like that was big for me and how I approach the game and how I cover it right now.
Well, how did you go from playing to writing? Where did your playing career end and your writing career begin?
So I didn't play. I played basketball growing up. Basketball was my thing. For me, watching Cleveland go to the World Series really kind of pulled me from just a casual fan into an intense fan. Because growing up, I was a big baseball fan, but when Cleveland traded CC Sabathia, I pretty much broke off my relationship with Cleveland sports. Because right after that happened is when LeBron left. So, and I was never a Browns fan growing up. The Browns have been terrible my whole life, and I'm never gonna give them a chance. So, yeah, I was kind of SOL right there, and yeah, I kind of got back into sports by the time LeBron came back, and then Cleveland was getting good again. So, but how I got into writing, so my background as a writer, I know when to write since I was about 11, 12 years old, but I started out as just an author. And then when I was a teenager, I started screenwriting. So author and screenwriting. When I went to college, that's what I went to college for. I was a film major with a concentration in screenwriting. And I was having writer block. I was having intense writer's block. That was lasted for like multiple years. And so I decided to write about baseball, just to give myself a break from other things, switch it up a little, see what I can do, and do it from a unique perspective too, talking about Black baseball players from other African diaspora, and things like that. So that was important for me, because it was just a casual little thing. I started a series about Black baseball players in the majors and the minors from all over the world. Each series has like at least 15 I've done black players from Caribbean, Latin America, United States, players from Africa, profile guys in the minors and the majors from all over, from throughout the entire diaspora, just to make sure that representation gets what it gets, and trying to be more detailed, but also trying to curate introductory articles for other Black people. I try to make my primary audience for my work Black people, specifically those who are baseball fans and those who are not, just so that way they can kind of see a lens that tries to be comprehensive and accurate and things like that. And, you know, I feel like with my education, I have the ability to do that. So that's what I've just been trying to do.
Whenever the podcast runs, I'll post the link to the thread that's pinned to the top of Pat's Twitter account. If you follow Pat on Twitter, the pinned tweet is a thread of 30 articles he wrote about 30 Black baseball players. And I was flipping through reading them the other day, and hopefully one day we'll be able to write an article about the other gentleman who's joined us tonight, Brennon McNair, who was drafted by the Royals in 2021, the 11th round, right?
Yes, sir.
So I know we just got done talking about the draft, and for anybody who didn't catch a lot of our draft coverage, the 11th round in a lot of ways is kind of like a wild card round because of the way that the signing bonus and stuff works. And if you are curious about that, you can go back and look at our draft coverage. But Brennon being an 11th round pick is pretty complimentary of his talents, because it's more like a really early round pick. So Brennon, you are drafted out of high school in Mississippi. You have signed with the Royals. You're playing in Arizona. Why don't you tell Royals fans a little more about your background as you've come up playing baseball in what a lot of scouts refer to as one of the harder states to scout in the South?
Growing up in a rural area or the country, where I'm from, Mississippi, there's a lot of raw talent. Just playing ball and going at it for what we know. And the biggest thing I would say is all about the amount of resources you have. And I was blessed and thankful for my mom and my dad and them putting me in every situation that I was able to succeed. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't probably be the person I am today, or probably wouldn't be in the position I am today. Saying that, just growing up and playing in Mississippi is all about what you make of it, and not worrying about what you don't have or what's, here or there. It's just really working hard and getting to the next level. Understanding what you need to do to succeed, understanding where you need to go. And for me, because I live in a rural area, I have to go probably, an hour or maybe 45 minutes to, play with a team that's really good, or just play in the areas that's where it'd be a lot of scouts or a lot of people that will find you and play well. And just going to like facilities and everything like that. They're really not just a really long way, but they're really far away. But that's the sacrifices that you have to make, and those are the things that you have to do. And if you want to get to the next level, those are the type of things that you're gonna have to tell yourself, all right, I have to do this, I have to go here, and I have to really put effort into what I'm doing. And that goes not for me, but that goes for everybody in Mississippi, because people, like for the past 2 years, if you see the College World Series, 2 Mississippi teams have won the World Series. So there's talent there, and there's people that really know baseball and really understand. It's just that it's such a rural area, and when you think of Mississippi, just a lot of country and everything. But within all those areas, those are a lot of great athletes that come out of, Mississippi.
We were talking before we started recording about all the Major League Baseball players that have come out of Mississippi. And the one thing that, Royals fans specifically may not be familiar with, but you hear it all the time from like Baseball America, MLB Pipeline, when somebody is drafted highly out of Mississippi, that, there aren't a lot of players drafted highly out of Mississippi. And I think a lot of times the implication is that that's because there isn't a lot of talent in Mississippi, when in reality, it seems to be more of a scouting issue in Mississippi. I know the Royals have always had a pretty good presence in the area. Gerard Dyson, kind of famously a 50th round pick to big league World Series hero, comes out of Mississippi, and yourself out of Mississippi. I feel like sometimes it's more of a scouting issue. And evidence of this, Brennon, is you come out of high school Mississippi, go straight to the Arizona Complex League against professional pitchers, and didn't miss a beat. So talk about the arms you faced in Mississippi compared to the jump you had to make in pro ball. What do you think made you so successful jumping from high school ball into pro ball in a state where, if you listen to the national narrative, is that it's not one of the strongest states in the union for baseball?
So there, like I said, there's a lot of talent where I'm from, and a lot of it's not that there's not enough talent. It's just that no one knows. And
It's
what I
untapped too.
did, yeah. So people may think, well, high school arms. That of course, high school arms are not going to be the best, or they're not going to be as strong as college arms or professionally. But there are some guys in high school that have some good stuff. But a step further than high school, where I think for me and anybody else that's from Mississippi, is during the summer league, or if you got a team that you play with, when you go off and you play in the tournaments and just showcases and things like that, you're able to see those type of arms that will get you prepared for what you need. And probably another big thing is when one of my coaches that I used to hit with, Scott Nichols, he recommended me to the Louisiana Knights. So me playing with them, that got me more exposure, and they got me more, opportunities to play against bigger and better competitions, not just, getting stuck in the area that I'm at and just trying to better myself. And me growing up, every coach that I've had and that I can remember, they have always been hard on me. So the person that the basics or fundamental of the game, probably, I would say it's Coach Gabe Ishii. That was my when I was growing up, he really had one of the most impacts on me playing this game. And he taught me, just because he knew that I had a lot of talent, and he knew that I was a great ball player, but he still knew that there was always room to improve. And he just taught me the small things of baseball that I needed to know and keep growing. And, I got Coach Adam Smith, he was really hard on me. And, some days it would be like, I'd be like, just give me a break, let me breathe. But I'm, just thinking back on all the things that I've been through, I'm glad, he was hard on me. He was everything that I did on the field. He was, making sure it was, on point. And then my high school coach, of course, he knew that the type of talent I had, and he knew where I wanted to go, and he knew where I wanted to be. And out of all the coaches that I've had, he never let me slide with anything. He never let me, if I started trying to get too relaxed, started trying to get too complacent, he would always be able to fire me up and tell me that, you're a great ball player, but you're not where you need to be. And just because you're good right now doesn't mean that there are other people out there that are a lot better, a lot better talent, and you have to continue working. And it wasn't one of those things that just tear me down and like, say I'm not good, but he always kept me towards a higher standard. And I think that's one of the biggest things that all the coaches that I've had growing up kept me and pushed me and didn't let me get stuck in where I'm at. Because I think that's one of the biggest issues where, with a lot of players in Mississippi, is that they kind of get stuck in the area they're at and they don't go out and try to find what they need. And
can I ask you a question, Brennan?
Yes, sir.
All right, so I'm from Youngstown, Ohio, city about 50,000 hour outside of Cleveland. My entire family's from the South, Great Migration type things and stuff like that. When looking at Mississippi and how black it is, many people don't really realize that there's still a lot of black people in Mississippi, especially in the Delta area. Can you kind of just talk to me about if anything, if all the black baseball players in Mississippi, if you guys and the coaches and stuff, do you guys network, kind of share a culture? How are you guys connected and close? I mean, as far as coming together as a community in order to cultivate talent and put guys on the right track and collaborate, things like that, in order to get more black baseball players out here, get more scholarships for guys and things like that.
Basically, baseball has a way of bringing everyone together. It doesn't matter, what's going on, who your coach is, where you come from. Baseball always has a way of bringing everyone together and bringing out the best in everybody. And the biggest thing I can say about baseball, and this from my high school team and from all my coaches and playing with anybody, black, white, Latino, all those people, is that you have to have chemistry in order to succeed. You could have just, average players, or you can have someone that, that you don't have the best team or the most commits or anything like that. But if your team, if you all come together and you're all working hard and you all going towards the same goal, it doesn't matter who's on your team, it doesn't matter who's your coach, it doesn't matter who your coach, what color you are, where you come from, you or your team will be the best team out there.
Right.
And that's one thing I can say that has helped us.
As a high school coach in Kansas City, it's interesting, and I played high school ball in Kansas City. You know, when I was in high school 10 years ago, to have D1 commits, to have, you know, guys get drafted was super rare. And as a coach now, it seems like we've got more D1 commits and guys getting drafted than I can ever remember when I was in high school. And I kind of think part of that was the Royals having a lot of success in between my high school career and my coaching career. Mississippi obviously doesn't have a professional team, but Brennan, you mentioned Mississippi and Mississippi State going and winning the College World Series. Do you think that those two local universities having a ton of success at the highest level of college baseball has pushed more kids in Mississippi to play baseball at a younger age?
Most definitely. And speaking on professional team, in Mississippi, we have the Mississippi Braves. They're the AA team for the Braves. And actually, for us in high school, if you make it to the state championship, which we were fortunate and we was blessed, and we had a great team. And like I said, we had great chemistry, and we was able to make it to the big house, which is the Braves AA Stadium. And I think that's one of those things that if you get to go there, it kind of gives you a taste of where you want to go. And when you play in that stadium, it's big, you know, it sounds different. It's loud, the ball flies. And, you know, you got the big screen and you got kind of just a good crowd. And I think that really sparks, you know, playing at the next level. And then also with Mississippi State and Ole Miss, and the amount of fans and the amount of people that support and are behind those two colleges when baseball is in full effect, it is crazy. And it's like the atmosphere is like, it's really electric. So you got a lot of fans in one spot just rooting for you, and it's loud, everything's going on. And I think that also gives you a taste of what, you know, can be in store when you make it to, you know, the next level, the big leagues or AA or AAA. And when you go there as a kid, especially at a young age, and you see that it's a lot of excitement and you see that it's a lot of fun, especially going to the College World Series. If you're young and you're playing baseball and, you know, you're on the fence about what's going on and you're able to see that on the biggest level, that really motivates you. And that's going to be like, okay, I want to get there one day and I want to work hard and I want to be like them. And that's why it's important to set a good example when you're on the field, because just the same way you have scouts and everything looking at you, you got kids that are, you know, 3, 4, that's in T-ball. You got those that are in high school. You got those that are in junior high that are looking up to you. I want to be like such and such, and I want to be better than him, and I want to work to where I want to get to. So just, you know, and each year it gets bigger and bigger. And it's just one of those things that's just going to take time that, you know, the South and, you know, Mississippi, all those that state right there, there's a lot of talent. It's just, you have to really put in the work, and you have to make sacrifices. You have to be willing to make that sacrifice and know that it's not going to be easy, but it's not impossible.
I won't quote it because I cannot remember for the life of me where I heard it, but I feel like in the draft process last year, when after you were drafted, Brennan, that the Royals mentioned the game you played at the Braves Stadium there in Mississippi. And like I said, I won't quote it because I can't remember to save my life. But Pat, you were talking about before we started recording that the Royals have a specific scouting unit designated for HBCUs and other under-scouted areas. Now, as a casual fan, I think Royals fans, again, if you don't understand the lack of scouting that takes place at games like this, you may not understand what an advantage having scouts that are specifically assigned to under-scouted areas. But talk to us, Pat, about the Royals scouting unit you're talking about. And again, this is the same unit that, you know, would have seen Brennan play at the Brave Stadium, that would be, you know, located in Mississippi and Alabama and Louisiana, trying to find games that are under-scouted to find talent like a Gerard Dyson in the 50th round.
Right. So the KC Royals scouting department, they have focused on historically black colleges, universities, is headed by Travis Ezzie, former MILB player, switch hitter, drafted out of Baltimore. I think, I can't remember who. I think it was his 12th round. I think one round after you, Brennan. So that's kind of funny. But their focus is on scouting historically black college universities and also rural areas that are more black in Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, Louisiana, etc. that might not get the coverage that is deserving, especially considering that most HBCUs are in the rural South and are small colleges. You know, when people think of HBCUs, they only think of like Howard, Morehouse, Spelman, Clark Atlanta, FAMU, and it's really disingenuous and nasty. And there's a whole bunch of stuff there related to, you know, just being attracted to visibility and things like that, and it's not thorough. And what the KC Royals is doing is cool because one, it's a competitive advantage. Similar that harkens back to Negro Leagues when teams like the Dodgers, the Cardinals, and the Guardians, formerly the Indians, were the teams integrating and scouting Negro League games first and doing that way before other teams. There's an article Jay Japp did for Fangraphs on integration advantage and how taking, you know, players that, you know, scouting and cultivating undesirable or less desirable areas or areas that may perceive how they are for whatever reason. There's an advantage in that because you're seeing the talent, your talent that is there is seeing less teams, so you have a better shot of grabbing them. You're going to make an impression just by being out there because you know the talent out there isn't going to see a lot of scouts. So that's just the edge right there. But it's also the culture thing as well. With baseball, a large majority of baseball's history cannot be told without the South, specifically the rural Black South. In terms of players, coaches, you know, teams and organizations, things like that. And not even just that, baseball's impact on the South too, and the entire country in itself means that there's it owes this area to be. These are things that teams should be more intentional about and aware about and things like that in terms of paying respect to the game and paying forward and doing the right thing technically is what I'm trying to say. Because there's a right way to do things in this business and things like that in terms of involving all of our communities, things like that. So yeah, I think it's really big because I feel like with KC also being a black area because of Great Migration too is going to. I think they kind of realized it's big, and plus the KC Royals partnership with the MLB, Negro Leagues Baseball Museum is huge too. So it's kind of on brand with the direction that they've gone, and also considering how many black players the KC has had over the years. You know, Lo Kane, historically, yeah, there's a lot there for the KC Royals to tap into, and there's a lot of incentives and reasons why they should. And I'm glad to see that they recognize it, considering kind of, you know, their perception as like one of the old-fashioned ball clubs.
There are plenty of teams who have cut their scouting departments altogether. So when we were,
and I also have one example too.
Yeah,
my bad. I also have one example too. Many people don't know this. I apologize. Many people don't know this about Tim Anderson, but he didn't begin playing baseball until he was in 11th grade. And that's a microcosm of growing up black in the South and not having baseball around you and things like that, and him just picking it up after he got injured in a basketball game and stuff. That's kind of why I ventured away from it. So I kind of understand what Brennan's saying about the lack of infrastructure and things, especially with how expensive baseball has gotten for people our age compared to years past and stuff like that. But what were you saying, bro?
Speaking on Tim Anderson actually went to East Central Community College, and that is
right in Mississippi.
Mm-hmm. So one of my coaches actually, the assistant coach, he knows Tim Anderson, and he was telling us in high school that he didn't start playing until about 11th grade because he was actually a great basketball player. And then, you know, he was just telling us about that, and I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
That you know.
Well,
I wrote a story about him.
Lorenzo Kane.
So. Yeah, I mean, similar. Yeah, Lorenzo Cain's another one too. He didn't start playing until he was like in 10th grade, and so
yeah, got cut from the basketball team, goes out, and I think that speaks more to the next thing I wanted to talk to you all about is it just accessibility for kids. And Pat, you hit the nail on the head that it's expensive, and that goes for anybody who can't afford to get into baseball early. It's such a fine motor skill sport. And you have to, in order to be really good at a young age, you have to have reps and practice and ability or availability and access to all this. I think
it also takes time of parents too, and people don't realize that. And, our parents got to work and stuff. And we working too. We taking care of little siblings, little cousins, things like that. And people don't really realize how much time you got to put into baseball in order to be great at it. Especially
at a young age. I think it's objectively better. Baseball is objectively better when more people are playing. The trumpets that the Mets play for Edwin Diaz walkout song is electric. And if you watch games from Japan or Korea, they are electric. If you watch games from the Dominican Winter League, they are electric. And even in the World Baseball Classic, like they are so much fun to watch, and they are so different than the average Major League Baseball game. Even the college game is more electric and sometimes more fun to watch than the average Major League Baseball game. How do we make baseball more accessible? Because again, objectively, it is better when more people are playing and more people have access to playing, which is why the Royals have started to put in a lot of work for their Urban Youth Academy in Kansas City. But how do we make it more accessible? How do we get more kids involved with this great game that we all love?
I feel like it starts with making the sport more visible. For me, I feel like it's hard to see a lot of highlights. It's hard to and also a lot of people don't know how to watch baseball. They have a lot of misconceptions about baseball. They don't know how to really approach the game when they see it on a TV screen. Just sit down, just pitch by pitch and things like that. That's kind of been missing. And also, in this age of social media and stuff, we're seeing players' personalities a lot more, stuff like that. Baseball players are a little more withdrawn and things, and that's cool in certain ways. But it's external factors from GMs and the norms of the game itself that kind of restricts baseball players from expressing themselves in certain ways, whether it be on the record or on the field. And that's the big deal too in terms of optics for the game. But at the same time, I feel like there's a lot of negativity wrapped around the game that is just sitting there just because nobody is really showing the sport to people. So they're just making really dumb assumptions about the sport.
Brennan, you play in a league that is not streamed on the minor league game. Obviously, high school and college games aren't televised as often as anybody would like. But from what you've seen recently at the high school level and at the professional level, what do you think is the biggest piece moving forward to getting more kids involved in this game that we enjoy and appreciate? How do we get more kids to join in and appreciate it with us?
The biggest thing I can say for the kids wise, you have to make it fun. So you have to give them a reason for them to play. If you tell them, okay, you catch the ball, see ball, hit ball, then I'm not growing anything, but your attention span is not that long. So you have to continue. Like, say if you go to a camp and you have a lot of kids, you got to keep everything fast beat, and you have to want them to have that desire to want to play and want to learn. Because baseball it's a slow sport, but to the average person, it's a slow sport. But when you're actually in the game, you have to slow it down because it's so fast. And just knowing that and knowing that you have to go out and you have to help people understand the whys and what's the plan. And that's one of the biggest things about with the Royals that I really love is that they not only tell you what you need to do, they tell you how it works and why. And they just don't leave you out in left field like, okay, well, you need to do such this and that and get it done. They tell you, listen, you need to do this and that. And if you have a question, they'll be like, well, this is why you need to do this. And if you don't do this, this would have happened. And if you keep getting this result, this is why. So they really they have a good job of going in depth and giving you the resources that you need to, keep going. As for just getting, more people into it, is where I'm from and the area that I live in. I know that it's not a lot of baseball facilities. It's not so much as, okay, well, I
Like
can
an
grab a
infrastructure.
group of people and go, yeah, I can't just grab a group of people and go to a ballpark, because it's not that many people that, it's not that many good ballparks because, but where I'm from, actually, one thing that they have done a great job as I've gotten older and as I've went through, the process and going up through T-ball to all the way to high school, is that as my community has grown so much as playing, getting the fields, that I remember when I was young, the fields that we used to play on, they was like all beat up, raggedy and everything like that. And it was one year that they made all the fields turf. So then all of a sudden, you got a turf field, you got a nice field going on that attracts more people because it looks nice. So then all of a sudden, they started hosting tournaments. So I remember when they hosted the first one, it was a good little crowd. And then, you're thinking, where will they go from there? And then the next time, it was like, it just kept getting bigger and bigger. And not only was it just baseball, it was people from out of state coming to play. And I think that was one thing that my community, I can say, done a great job of just building, putting the effort in and building something that everybody can, have somewhere to play. And as for my high school coach, he took pride on making sure that our field was. I promise you, it's like he cut the grass every 2 days. It's like he never let it get out of hand, and we was always working on, making sure the dirt was even, making sure the lip was gone, making sure that the fence was up, making sure that just all the maintenance things. And it was only him, and like just us. It wasn't like we had anybody paid to do it, and just you have to take the initiative. And you have to, the initiative is the biggest thing to making, people want to be in this.
Last question I got for you guys as a group tonight, and then Brennan, I want to ask you one. Baseball, or actually, let's go to this real quick. You down there in Arizona, now you're in the Royals organization. Much has been made about Coach Saylor and the work that he's put in to the organization. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, A, about Coach Saylor and your time in the Royals organization, but B, how has he helped you grow as a hitter? And maybe it's not Coach Saylor specifically, but any of your hitting coaches there in Arizona helped you grow as a player, helped you grow as a hitter, and just your time in the Royals organization specifically.
For me, I know it's like just coming in. It's when you come out of high school and you come into pro ball, you have that high school swing. You have things that you can get away with high school, just the small things, because the talent is not that good, and you can easily get away with certain small things that's not going to work in the professional league. So I remember, in spring training, just them, Drew Saylor, like all the hitting coaches, everything. It's just certain small things that they would teach, or they would try to, they didn't just put it all on me at one time, but just like week by week and month by month, they would just tell me, all right, well, yeah. So I remember one thing he told me, Drew Saylor specifically, and just he was talking about just getting my hips more involved just on the baseball side. And when I was first doing it, it felt weird, and it's like your body wants to be like, well, this I don't feel comfortable. I don't know if I'm supposed to do this, or like, how does this work? And your brain is trying to figure out how you can wrap everything around it. And I can say one thing is, when you're going through that time where you feel uncomfortable and you don't feel like everything is right and you're trying to work on something, they know. It's like they know that you're trying to figure it out, and they know that it's going to take time. And you're going to go through times where you feel uncomfortable. You're going to go through times where you feel like, okay, well, nothing feels right. Your swing is off, but you're still working on something. And then they're going to keep giving you opportunity. They're going to keep putting you out there. They're going to keep pushing you. They're not just going to let you sit there. They're not just going to let you, just figure it out. They're going to keep helping you along the way, and they're not just going to leave you hanging. And sooner or later, it's going to click. And then when you figure that out, then it's like they're gonna add a little more. So it's just a building process, and just with all the coaching group and all the staff, they're being able to help you. And I remember coming out of high school, the same like the same thing that I'm going through pro ball was Travis Easy. He was the one person that really took my game to the next level because he saw who I was. He really saw who I was as a talent wise. He was like, listen, you might be getting away with it right now, but he said, I'm gonna tell you right now, this is not gonna work if you want to go to where you want to go. And I, just looking at him, and your ego kind of high when you're in high school, and you kind of got a chip on your shoulder. And when somebody knocks that off, you like, really. And then as time went on, and I got to where I wanted to be, and then each day that he worked with me and putting his best foot forward and telling me, listen, you got to get better, you got to get here, we got to be here. Just that, and him taking the time out of his day and just taking the time out of his life to help me get to where I want to go. And he really pushed me, and he really wanted me to succeed. And he was really one of the biggest factors of me getting drafted too, because he was able to help me know just the small things of the game that I didn't know that would get me to where I needed to go. And no,
my bad. I apologize.
Just knowing that was, him getting me there. And just, that's one thing I can remember. All right, well, I made it through this time of my life and I got to here. So I want to be a sponge. I don't want to be someone that's not coachable. I don't want to be someone that's thinking I know it all, because if I knew it all, I would be in the big league. You know what I mean? So I don't want to be someone that's stuck up, and everything that they tell me, I'm gonna want to get there, and I'm gonna want to try to be just be the best I can be. And it's really helped me out.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about your glove work. You only played 10 games last year. Did you get hurt or anything, or was it they kind of had you working on some stuff?
10 games last year in pro ball?
Yeah, I think.
Last year in pro ball when we got drafted, the season was pretty much coming to an end.
Right. I forgot. My bad. Draft was in July. I forgot they moved the draft back and stuff. I forgot. Yeah. My bad. I'm tripping. My fault. I'm tweaking. All right. Next question. Okay. You've been playing more third base this year than the shortstop compared to that's what you played when you're in high school and stuff. What's that transition been like, learning that and stuff? I'm sure you probably played some in high school and stuff like that. So, but just kind of take me through that.
The transition, just infield is infield, but Jason has his own specific way to go. It's just me learning just another position, because it's good to be a versatile player. And I've learned some things at third that I didn't know, and just small things at third, and just being able to
help you at short.
Game. Say what now?
Do you think it helps you at short and vice versa too?
I think from going from short to third, and because at short you have more time. At third, everything's more quick. So I would say because that quickness and everything, because you don't at third, the decision that you have to make is you either got to go back or you got to go forward. At shortstop, right. It's kind of okay, I can wait and creep into it and then go. So reaction time and everything, that's
right.
I would say it helps me at short too.
Okay, cool. Can you want to talk about your Georgia Southern commit at all? What that was like, the experience, the college experience and things like that. What made you commit there? I mean, and just what do you think would have been like to play college ball and stuff like that, maybe in Georgia?
I was actually committed to South Alabama.
Oh, I apologize. My bad. It was me. I'm tripping today. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm botching it.
So just my commit off of South Alabama and everything.
Botching it.
I think once you make a decision, going to college or going to pro ball, that's the decision that you make. The more that you think about, should I went to college? Should I have gone here? Should I? You'll get stuck. So, baseball is baseball. And I feel like, going to pro ball was a one step closer to getting where I wanted to be. Mm-hmm. And, once I made that decision, of course, everybody in high school that comes out of high school, when you go to college, you're like, okay, well, is this the right decision? I want to go to college. I want to, experience the college life. But when I look back at it, I was like, as long as I can get a degree and as long as I can still go to school, technically I'm still in college. But I'm playing ball where I want to go. And, when I did get drafted, the biggest thing was Mama wasn't going to let me slide on not getting my school. That was one thing. But as long as there was a way for me to still be able to get a college degree, because I got my associates in accounting from Colan. That's a JUCO where I'm from. So I was able to do that. And when you look at it like on a deep perspective, is that technically I still went to college, and technically I still got my degree, and I'm still playing ball, and I'm getting one step closer to where I want to be. So.
Oh no, for sure. I feel you. Yeah, I understand. So you probably would have gone into business, finance, and stuff if you went to college and all that.
So
if you went to what would your major have been? Let me just say that.
So my major, like when my associate I got is in accounting, and my major when I probably start in the fall, I'll be going to the University of Southern Mississippi, and I'll be starting my business degree, and I'll probably start working on that towards the fall.
That's what's up. I'm gonna try and I'm gonna re-enroll at Morehouse next year and get my business degree from there. So they got an online program I'm finna hit up. But take me through some of your favorite players growing up. Who would you try to model your game after? Who'd you like? Who inspired you? If you
I think one of my favorite players that I was growing up was Francisco Lindor. That was like of all the players, and I have a lot of favorite players, but when I seen Francisco Lindor, he really struck like my love for. I already had a love for baseball, but he kind of put that like I want to model my game after him. So I started wearing my pants up like him. Started wearing stirrups. I started, wearing a sleeve and everything. And I really watched his highlights and everything. Like, all right, how does he move? Like backhanded plays, how he swing and everything. And that really, that's who I wanted to model my game after. I wanted to be a shortstop like him. So, and then of course you got players like after him, like hitting wise. Of course, Francisco Lindor is a switch hitter, but at least like I look at his swing from the right side and everything like that. But as another player, let me see who else was one of my favorite players. I can say Jeter, of course, but Jeter is probably everybody's favorite player. But hitting wise, I think
Jeter is the coolest,
Francisco
man.
Lindor.
Okay, that's what's up, bro. Lindor was one of my favorites growing up too. I saw him play in Mahoning Valley his very first year before he got injured, because Mahoning Valley is right outside of Youngstown. I went with my great grandfather. I saw him play one of his very first pro games. His first year after he after he got drafted, before he I think he like towards ACL or meniscus or something in low A and in the NYPL.
That's awesome, guys. The last question we asked.
That's a dope connection.
Sorry about that. I was gonna say I don't know if it's my Wi-Fi, but I got a glitch I got a little bit of a delay in your response. So sorry about that. But the last question we ask all of our first time guests on the show, and Pat, we'll start with you. If you could go back in baseball history and be live in person for one moment in baseball history, where would you go?
That's a great question. Wow, that's so many things. It would probably be I think it would be Clemente's 3,000 hit, Roberto Clemente's 3,000 hit. It was the last one of his career. For me, Clemente is one of my heroes. He had a close relationship with Dr. King. I didn't know this until I started reading about him, but he identifies Afro-Latino, and he actually protested against Jim Crow when he was in the minor leagues, because he and other black players weren't allowed to stay in the same hotel as the white players on his team. And he was very outspoken and on record, off the record, about who he was, things like that. And as a man, as a person, and I try to model myself after him and Jackie in terms of how I carry myself and how I think and things like that, and my perspective, especially in baseball. So it will probably be that moment right there. It's a lot. Clemente, he kind of gets misportrayed in certain ways for me. And he's really important for me personally, and because he's kind of gave me a lot of reassurance. His quotes, Jackie's quotes, and Minnie Minoso's quotes, and that, and how I cover the game is is correct and is truth, and that I can keep going because people are going to meet me where I'm at.
That's awesome. Brennan, you got any thoughts on that?
Well, if I could, the one thing that I can really remember that burns in my memory, that I would probably wish I would say I wish I was there, was the World Series game with David Ortiz when he hit the home run to right and the guy fell over the fence. I would want to be there. I think that's one moment that I would want to see in person.
Wasn't that a grand slam too?
Yeah, it was the image,
and it was a Tigers. It was a Tigers shoe. It was a Tigers shoe, man. It's all coming back now, like because I just remember the Tigers eating crap that series because I think that didn't they blow like 3 straight leads in those games or something like that, when they got folded. Yeah, that was crazy.
It's awesome.
Oh man, I want to change mine now to the David Freese game.
Ooh, I remember where I was watching that game.
I was watching that game live with one of my best friends. We were like 10 years old, watching on the Fatback TV at his house, just going bananas, just going crazy. And that was a big World Series for me because that was the first time I saw a black manager playing the World Series. That was around Washington. Took them. That
was my best friend growing up was a Cardinals fan, so I was at his house watching that game. But that's a good one. That whole World Series brings back a lot of memories for me. That was in the middle of my baseball. That was a great World Series. So
that was a very great World Series. That was probably the last one I watched before I stopped watching baseball.
Gentlemen, I appreciate you guys being on very much. It was a lot of fun to listen to you guys talk about your experiences in baseball. And Brennan, I know Royals fans specifically will be really excited to hear about your upbringing through baseball and your time in the Royals organization. Pat, thanks a lot for joining us, man. I've been, ever since we reached out on Twitter, I've been going back and looking at a lot of the work you have done for Baseball Prospectus, and it's awesome. And it's good that somebody's out there doing that kind of work for big national publications. So keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you for having me. I'm really flattered to be here. And to talk to, I don't really know many Royals fans or things like that. Like AO Central people are kind of close, so the Royals are kind of a little more distant from the other people, but that's fine. I really enjoy being here. Brendan, thank you for coming on and let me chat with you. I was really honored to get to talk to you, and my apologies for me botching those couple questions.
Nah, you're good. You're fine.
My bad, bro. It won't happen again. I got to do better, man. That wasn't cool.
It's all good. All good.
I appreciate you. Thank you, man.
Brennan, good luck to you, man. We'll be following you as you continue to make your way through the system. So good luck to you, man. We'll hopefully we'll get to talk to you again soon.
Yes, sir. Hey, I appreciate y'all for having me, man. Just thankful. Just really thankful to God for blessing me to be here and everything that He's brought me through. And just thank you for having me and just being able to chat with you guys and have a good time. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
For sure.
So to those of you listening from home, we will be back again next week as we recap the next week of minor league baseball and get into kind of what the offseason is going to look like, as well as our mid-season rankings that Brendan will be a part of. So we'll see you all again very soon. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you guys again next week.